Shout out to all my students in the Spiritual Ecology Course. It's your boy Ian from the litunderground.com here today to drop another lesson. So what is up, everybody? If you guys don't know about the Lit Underground, we are the new literary kids on the block, dropping uncensored, dope, free courses on all different types of literature, philosophy, psychology. If you can think about it, I am reading it and covering it at a deep level. And right now, this is the Spiritual Ecology Course. Go watch the introduction video or check out the link in the description below if you want to know more. But we have other business to attend to because we are covering chapter 10 in David Abram's book, Becoming Animal. And today, chapter is titled Sleight of Hand. I made the book disappear. And this is a dope chapter. And like these, I keep saying that, but these chapters keep getting better because we cannot move forward without the woo, everybody. We cannot move forward with people. If you are still stuck in nude sleep, or if you are just waking up have just woken up because maybe some traumatic experience from nude sleep, I don't know if you're going to really get that some dude's teacher turns himself into a raven. That might be a little bit too far-fetched for you. But for me, a psychonaut, someone who is a psychonaut and a lifelong yoga practitioner and meditator and daily nature goer, that stuff is totally in the realm of possibility. So once again, I'm just, giving a warning that we're going to enter the realm of woo. And I would like to start talking about today is about one of the things that David Abram mentions. And I'm going to start off with the story. And he talks about how when you're around powerful people or spiritual people, it has a certain effect on you. And like you can get a little bit, sometimes in the moment you feel and you're like, whoa. But sometimes after, like you hang out with somebody or with a group of people, like you come home and your consciousness is changed. And remember when I was 19, I went to this like spiritual conference in Philadelphia, flew out there, had a great time, learned a lot. But, in the moment I felt pretty grounded. Like I felt elevated and I was like, yeah, hoorah. But like I didn't feel like any like deep changes. But I went home and I flew home to Las Vegas. And at the time I was living with my parents, and I got home and suddenly I was a new guy. Like it really affected me. Like being around a couple hundred people who shared a lot of my same beliefs and values. And at the time a lot of them were smarter than me, because I was just 19, really starting to get going. Really had a deep, profound effect on me. And I felt that. But then around 7 p.m. one night, I think the night I got home, I like flew a super late night flight. Then I had to wake up the next morning and do something. So I took a nap at like 7 p.m. And I have this nap and I go lucid in my dream. I have a really instant moment of lucidity. And we're going to be having a lucid dreaming course for writers soon too, everybody. So check out that, how to lucid dream at least a couple times a week. But so I go lucid and my dad's there in the dream Jamie. And I say to my dad, I'm like, and this is what I do sometimes. I say, tell me something that I can verify. Tell me something that no one else knows, or tell me something. And then just tell me something. And I'm going to go ask you in real life about this. And my dad said, Jerry the Crow. And it's so funny we're talking about ravens here. He said, Jerry the Crow. And I'm like, okay. So I wake up and guess what? I walk into the next room and my dad's sleeping too. That freaking guy is sleeping too and dreaming. I wake him up. I'm like, what were you dreaming about? Oh my God. And he's like, well, you know how like parents stop dreaming because of the corporate workforce. And he's like, I don't know. And I say to him, Jerry the Crow. And he's like, huh? I'm like, what does Jerry the Crow mean to you? And he's like, well, I don't know about Jerry the Crow, but I used to raise crows with my friend Jerry back in Ontario, Canada. My dad's from Markham, Ontario. And he said down on our property, who the hell raises crows? He would raise crows and pigeons, and then, they would release them every day, but then feed them and I guess keep them overnight. I guess he was a birder or I don't even know what the word is. But he said, my next door neighbor who was my age was named Jerry and we raised crows together. I knew he raised pigeons. I never knew he raised crows, and I never heard about his neighbor Jerry because his neighbor Jerry only lived there for like a year and a half. It was just like an in and out type of neighbor who was, a year or two older than him. Maybe at one point in my life, in my subconscious mind, he told me about that guy. But I'm going with the possibility that I was so open and so activated that that's what happened. That there was a ethereal connection from room to room, especially because we were both sleeping, and he gave me a piece of information. I asked and I received. So David Abrams has this really weird technique, and it's so genius about how to find the dope people. I need to do this, man. He would go into a village and he would do some sleight of hand magic, and then everyone would be like, "Whoa, he's a magician, he's a shaman, he's a weirdo. We need to tell the other magician in town about him." And then that person would come find him, and then he could learn the secrets, the magical secrets. What a smart idea. It's almost like peacocking. Like how do you find, like, imagine going, like, I live in a suburban neighborhood right now. Like, imagine me going door to door and like doing something, like showing them like some crystals or like doing a yoga pose, like, just because eventually they're going to find someone who does yoga. I'm going to find someone who does yoga. And then that person's they're going to knock on my door and be like, "I hear you do yoga." That's basically what he's doing, but in a foreign country, in languages he does not speak. And he is in the Himalayas, I think in Tibet or Nepal, if I remember correctly. And it's crazy because the elevation up there is insane, and he doesn't really mention it, but has anyone ever lived? And I really would appreciate if you guys could leave a comment down below if you've ever experienced something like that, where you hung out with someone spiritual or spiritual group and it changed your consciousness after, maybe like after the experience. Let me know about that. I'm really interested in these synchronicities and like these experiences, because I have a million stories similar, maybe not as crazy as Jerry the Crow, but or more crazy. I mean, LSD is a hell of a drug, but high elevation's insane. And let me know down below if you've lived in a high elevation too. But I lived in Wyoming at like 6,500 feet, and it changes you. Like, I keep saying I'm sorry. If you have a workout regimen at like a low elevation and you go to a higher elevation, it tanks, especially if you're doing cardio or something. But David Abrams is up at like 15,000 feet up there in the Himalayas. And that really has a certain effect on the spiritual level too, because you have to really integrate into nature. And he talks about being exhausted and all these different things. So Abrams goes over this story about how he has this guide and the guide gets scared, but eventually he meets this teacher, man. And this teacher starts to work with him a little bit. And shaman, and I just want to do another, and this is, you guys read the chapter. Let's talk about shamanism. I think that everyone in here, to get deeper into spiritual ecology, should dive deeper into shamanism. And I've done a lot of the things I'm going to teach you guys in this course are shamanic, things I've learned in my shamanic lessons and journeys. As I really don't call myself a shaman, but I'm not averse to that label. But one of the cool techniques that shamans do is the integration of the animal and the human. And one of the main ways to do this is to, find the spirit animal. And we've talked about this before, but this comes back to Jungian archetypes. This comes back to active imagination techniques, but even transcending that and dissolving the boundaries between you and animals, dissolving the boundaries between you and even the forest and with nature. That's what we are really trying to do here. That's kind of the tagline here, is that we're trying to dissolve the boundaries and then be able to feel these things with our new phenomenological consciousness in an empathetic way, and then see it through their vision. And as we see in the next chapter, that's what Abram achieves. And I studied in a shamanic course under Don Oscar Miro Quesada in the Peruvian shamanism. Sorry, I'm trying to get the right names here. System, and the Pachacuti Mesa tradition. That's what I was trying to think. And it's a very sobering tradition, because I entered into shamanism very high off of hallucinogenics, like really right in that wave, and doing a lot of yoga and but suddenly I got there, and we were the whole process, like I thought that we were going to be drumming and doing all this stuff and it was going to be just as trippy and he was going to give me peyote and it was going to be like the books. But what ended up happening was I learned that real spirituality is a very grounding experience. And when you need to ascend, you have tools to ascend. But when you're not ascending, you don't need to be ascending anymore. And that's what starts to happen to a lot of people a lot of spiritual leaders. And you see this in India all the time, that these guys really learn how to ascend. They really are these great people, but they never come back down to groundedness. They never come back down to groundedness and to learning and to growing and to gaining more knowledge, because they have this crazy ability to enter into the ether and gain like higher metaphysical knowledge. And they can transcribe that back to people, and those people reinforce them because their ideas are right, but they have a lot of screwed up ideas that start to integrate with that. For instance, Osho or Bhagwan is a very enlightened thinker, but for instance, he believed in eugenics operations, very not progressive. And I actually know somebody who was at an event back in the 90s. I met someone at a spiritual conference and they told me this. They said that he was early 90s, late 80s. They were at a conference and they ran into Osho in the bathroom. He was in this bathroom and he got in there and he was taking a dump, and he walks out of the bathroom and smack, he's at this Osho event and he's with Osho and they make eye contact. And he says that Osho snapped him right into a trance, right into a state of samadhi, and he went totally taken over. And then Osho just leaves him and goes to the bathroom and walks out, but he was totally put in the trance. But then he walked over to the meeting. He then listened to the lecture, and the lecture was about eugenics. And he was like, "What is this parallel?" And so what I'm trying to say is that when I entered into shamanism, we were doing these rituals where we'd be drumming and meditating, and it was all sober. And I would create this mesa and learn about the different directions and develop this practice that I did every single day. But it felt nothing like drugs. It felt nothing like that. And over time, though, it actually did. And that's one of the coolest parts about this chapter, is that Abram says that real magic is experiencing the actual moment with nature. Pure awareness is when it happens most. And that's what we're trying to do here. This chapter is great, but we're trying to dissolve boundaries, everybody. And I don't know what that photo is, I'm sorry. So we are trying to dissolve boundaries here. And I'm here to do whatever I need to do to help you. In whatever journal entry or message. I know some of you guys have messaged me. I'm just really caught up with my new English teaching job, and I'm trying to balance both, and my yoga personal practice and nature time. So I'm trying to do everything that I need to do. So thank you guys for writing to me and emailing me. And I just want to help us dissolve boundaries. Like, I'm getting kind of sad, but like I want to help you and do whatever you can, because like you can achieve like a sense of purpose. Like you can, like, I'm only here right now because of the boundaries I spent years dissolving, and then, all that, and then going out in nature. Like, the only reason you're listening to me is because of that, and all these different things, and like drugs and sex and even yoga and the fame and trying to get followers on Instagram and making this a career. All that stuff really takes away from just the practice of integrating with like animals again. And like I've even gotten away from that, like I've really have a connection to like coyotes and to ravens and to certain birds, and because of like environmental things that are happening around my area, like I can't experience that as much anymore. Like it's really like there's a certain area I go to or used to go to, and now it's like got narcs all around, man. Like if I'm trying to be there out at night or after sunset, someone will come and find me and tell me I can't be there anymore. And it's out in the middle of the desert. It's like a wildlife refuge. And I spent 10 years of my life there, almost every single night. If there's 365 days of the year, I was there at least 325 of those days for hours. And I developed this, really deep relationship and really dissolved boundaries. And in a place like where, in the desert, there's very few places where natural water occurs. So I've been resorted to having to, go out to the desert where it's, like the desert where it's dry and it's barren and there's really not, you don't have access to ravens or to crows or to birds or to snakes or to bugs. You might see a jackrabbit or a coyote every once in a while, but it's a little bit more like the Las Vegas desert is not, the Arizona desert or like the Texas desert or the California desert. It is it's like the driest, most barren one, or it's the Mojave Desert, man. Like things do not live out here. And I'm just happy that you guys are here. I'm just happy I'm making these videos because I want to do this more too. I'm like really thankful for David Abrams that, he's talking about this and this is really powerful stuff. And like whatever I can do to help you do this, man, whatever I can do to help you, like on this path of especially just dissolving these boundaries between you and nature, like that's more important than anything I can do. I'm going to one day, everybody, have thousands of videos, maybe thousands of subscribers, maybe millions, hopefully millions. But all that stuff, courses on Cormac McCarthy and Haruki Murakami and the bicameral mind, none of that really means anything. And like, I don't know if I just need to keep talking about this forever, but it's very, very, very hard to, really figure out what to do, everybody, because like, this is what matters most. This is what the human journey is about. And like you doing this is the most important thing that you'll ever do for yourself. And I'm just stuck in my heart and in my emotions right now, like trying to figure out like what I can do more to, really, I don't need to, I don't want a carbon tax. I don't need climate change, man. I just want people to like feel this, man, because, and like, why in these ancients, why is there always just one shaman? Why isn't everybody the freaking shaman? Like, is there always just been haters? Is that it? Like, is there always just been goobs, bro? Is there always just a kid like, like I'm teaching right now, these classes, is there always just a kid that's like not going to do the work until the last night or like just not going to do it at all or just always not try and just ask for answers? Is that always just going to happen? Like, is there any way to prevent those people from like not being here and then corrupting everyone else? Because all it takes is one. Like when I'm in class, man, all it takes is like one or two students to ruin the whole vibe. And then like everyone, it's like I'm like swimming in the ocean trying to throw people like a rope to hold on to, but I have to carry everyone. But before those two kids, like we were just chilling on a ship. That's all that was going, like everyone was nice and calm and everything was fine. And we were all on the journey, but then all it takes is just like one or two people, man. So it's like, is that what happens in villages? And then those one or two people, if they can't get roped back in, it just is endless. And I think that's like the virus. That's like evil. That's like the adversary, like whatever that is, man, that like disconnects us from this. And a lot of it is symbols and words. But I think that's even like not going deep enough. It's really base consciousness, and not even because it's weird because like we talk about the Muladhara chakra, like, and base consciousness, like in yoga, but that's almost an insult to be like our animal instincts and like how those aren't important. So yeah, man, let me know about your thoughts about that. If you've made it this far, like, thank you for coming. Like, thank you for like coming on this like tangent with me. This is not what I was planning, but what do we do, everybody? Like, I'm going to finish this series. It's going to be however 100 plus videos, whatever, but I'm asking you if you've made it this far, like, what do we do? And I want to help you out. And one of the best ways to do this is that I was in like a pretty bad relationship and I was so hurt that, and manipulated and stuff, that I didn't smoke weed or like really do caffeine or drink alcohol or really do anything. I did nothing. I basically did nothing for a year or more, a year and a half, 18 months. And in those 18 months, man, all I did, everybody, was cry and, be really sad. But I would go out in nature and I would try to write, and I would be so tired because, if you've ever been in a bad relationship, you don't really sleep or you don't really eat. And I'm 6'3" and I was like 160 pounds, man. Like I was like a shell. I'm 20 pounds heavier now. And it wasn't like I was 160 with muscle. I was like skinny fat 160. And I would just go out into nature and this process finally happened. And it was weird because I had done it for years before. Like I had done shamanic stuff, but the weed was always hanging over my head though, and other things like the pursuit of like a relationship and all these things. But when I was like at rock bottom, like this is when this stuff actually came for me. So like no matter where you're at, like you can do this, man, and it might actually be better if you are at like in a bad spot to like to go out and do this. And I was just trying to mention that, like, I was sober because of how bad I was doing. Like, if I was not sober, like, things would have even gotten worse in terms of, like, my emotional fortitude because I had none. I was, on the brink of killing myself, if I'm just going to be honest. Like, it was a really, really bad point. And, yeah, everybody, I don't want to sit and cry, but I'm already crying. Anyway, thank you guys for joining. I'm not going to take this any longer, but you guys can do this, man. Whatever it is, whoever is listening in the future, in the past, whatever the fuck, you guys can do this. Thank you guys for being here from the bottom of my heart. Like, let me know how you're doing. Let me know how I'm doing. If I can make something better about this course. Thank you guys for being here.